The Fest Chronicles we on. The Fest Chronicles, it's time to go. And it's that podcast, hosted by Jeffrey Jones. The best in travel adventure. You go, you tell them we sent you. Them activities you show to remember. Hey, when it comes to the festivals, you know who really got it. A unique inside perspective is what we really talking. Whether that's wine or film, music or the food. Celebrating different cultures, bring it all to you. 30 to 45 minutes of your time. We go behind the scenes to meet who makes it shine. Give it a listen and chill. We the ones trotting the globe. Everything that's going on, bringing it right to your home.
Hello, folks. Welcome to this edition of the Fest Chronicles podcast. I have a really exciting festival that we're covering today, and we'll be speaking with Mr. Byron Perry of the Black Wall Street rally that's being held in Tulsa, Oklahoma this upcoming May. And so to begin, I'll let you hear from Mr. Perry himself, his involvement with the Black Wall Street rally and what it's all about. Mr. Perry, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. This sounds like a really exciting rally that I've just heard about this year. And I found it so interesting and something that's dear to my heart about community involvement and group economics. And so just kind of wanted to find out a little bit about it, how you got started with it.
Well, first of all, Jeff, thanks for having me on and talking about the Black Wall Street rally. This is our fifth one. So now in our fifth year, we've been able to be blessed to grow as we have. I've been with the team, all along since the inception of the event. And Jeff, it really came about in 2021. We had the 100th anniversary of the 1921 Race Massacre here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And for those of us that are from Tulsa, like all of us are, we were really set about trying to make sure that we could amplify the message of home. We're all native Tulsans. Many of us have a lot of intimate history about the Greenwood District and Black Wall Street. And as we travel about, because we're all motorcycle enthusiasts or golfers, as we've traveled across the country, we've always had that sense of, why not our community? And then it kind of hit with the 100th anniversary of the massacre that, we had something, very, very special right here. I mean, it made us really start looking inward at ourselves and at our history. And the real fact that a lot of people don't know about the Greenwood District, don't know about Black Wall Street, but what is known about it has allowed several communities across the country to adopt the same moniker or adopt the feeling or the inspiration of what the Greenwood District and Black Wall Street was. And so we wanted to set about creating a motorcycle-inspired event to bring people to Tulsa to not only allow them to walk in this hallowed soil, but then to learn and be able to experience and be exposed to the things that Greenwood taught us to take back to their communities and continue to expand upon the legacy of what was the original Black Wall Street.
Excellent. You touched on a point. When you talk about beginnings, it's not impossible to think about, the history that's tied to Greenwood and Tulsa in regards to the Black Wall Street Massacre. How would you say the legacy of the Black Wall Street Massacre shaped the meaning behind the rally that's going on today that you guys have started?
Well, one of the most critical aspects that we like to always talk about is that the entire Greenwood District was intentional. It was intentional when O.W. Gurley originally purchased the 40 acres with the intention of selling to African Americans who at that time were not allowed to own land and to own property due to segregation. And so out of that intentionality came entrepreneurship. It came the intention to create a community where people of color could thrive, could live, could work, could build something. And those are all tenets, Jeff, that we found to be relevant today. No matter, where you live, no matter where you call home, there are a lot of things that you can benefit from by intentionality and working with a thought process for the future. And so that's one of the things that the descendants of Greenwood, like I said, O.W. Gurley and J.D. Stratford and those individuals, that they did. And the Greenwood District was a living testament to that. they built from the ground up a community that, because of lack of exclusivity, it began to thrive. And so what they built out of nothing was very important, and it's relevant today. The second thing that I like to talk about, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, is how at its heyday, the Greenwood District created, such an economic ecosystem that the dollar turned 7 times before it left the community. And so that's something that I think that we all should be cognizant of when it comes to any community, but especially in the community for people of color. The economic power that we have and how it operates, and how out of a collective spirit of working together, the legacy of Greenwood can exist today.
Oh, that's really amazing. When you talk about, beyond honoring the past, what would you say, how does the event support local businesses and the community?
Well, first and foremost, the fact that our street festival is held in the Greenwood District, it brings everyone to the Greenwood District to attend and visit the area that still remains today. But one of the things that we try to promote is in our street festival is we kind of are extending that through our vendors that come and are a part of the Black Wall Street Rally. We have a number of vendors from around the country that have different products, from food vendors to shirt designs to, a myriad of things that during the festival, and I'm sure you've probably got some videos of things of that nature. We've got a number of vendors there that are up and down Greenwood, from the existing structures that are still there and all the way up for 2 blocks, that allows everyone to come through and participate, buy something, check out something, and get information about those vendors that come from around the country. And so that right there is economic opportunity. Besides that, we have panel discussions about entrepreneurship, about building wealth in our community. But to answer your question more directly, the economic impact that we bring to the city of Tulsa is, I think, estimated to be around $4 million between the hotel stays, the restaurants, just in the Greenwood District itself, and downtown, as Greenwood is right a part of downtown. On a personal note, we have so many folks that get in touch with us before they come and say, where do you guys eat? What restaurants do you go to? Where should I stay? What part of town? What else should I see while I'm in Tulsa? And we try to facilitate that. But the economic impact is close to $4 million. And we see that growing every year as our event grows, as people come to town and really, from a tourism and visitors bureau type of thing, really get to know and see Tulsa. And that's why we strive every year to build on our event and make it bigger and better.
That sounds really awesome. Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier, you talked about the history of Greenwood and the Black Wall Street district. Can you walk us through what that was like and its economic impact for the people of that time? And was it international trade, or what all did they have going? Could you just for a few minutes walk us through what it was like back then?
Just a little bit. I'm learning more and more as you really dig into it, because a lot of things just aren't right there for us. But I'll tell you from the standpoint of my family and talking about Greenwood, I was with my dad yesterday, and he'll always say that, as a kid, when you went down on Greenwood, there was no reason for you to leave. You had everything that you needed. So you had situations, Jeff, that when the Greenwood District was getting built, there were rooming houses. There was a place for someone to come who had nothing and have a place to stay, and then find a place to work, and then find a place to entertain themselves, to worship, to bank, for medical services. There were world-renowned Black doctors. I mean, as you get back into the story, there were Black doctors that had attended the Mayo Clinic, that Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, that were trained in medicine, that were so renowned that they were seeing Black and white patients. There were, at the time, automobile shops, even though in the 20s, the automobile wasn't, readily available to everyone. You had, actual, Black owned um, uh, businesses that worked on cars. Then you had, the entertainment side of things, the Dreamland Theater, which was one of the largest buildings in Tulsa at the time that seated over 800 that allowed and gave the opportunity for acts to come from around the country and stop in Tulsa in order for people to see them and performers to perform. And so besides that, you had women who had businesses. Let's talk about that specifically. Women who had business in cosmetics or cosmetology, ladies who had relationships with I'm trying to think of the lady's name right now that had the beauty business that was started. So you had
Ida Wells, maybe?
no, Madam CJ Walker. It is Madam CJ Walker. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
So you had ladies that had worked with or had trained with or knew Madam CJ Walker that were selling beauty products and things of that nature. I mean, you had, lawyers, you had attorneys. BC Franklin's dad was an attorney that was there in the Greenwood District. And so you had everything in a community, and we're talking about 40 blocks at that time when the community was at its heyday, before the massacre. You're talking about 40 blocks that you had people living, worshiping, and thriving, all in a community that operated, right beside a city that excluded or segregated them from being, a part of the day-to-day existence. For the Greenwood District, everything was right there.
That is such a wealth of information. As we talked about the district, and because of time constraints, we really can't get into what precipitated the massacre. Could you give our audience, if they want to get some definitive accounts of it? And a lot of things I've have seen that they touch on, they may fictionalize it or so forth, connected to other television shows that have come out. But what would you tell people to say, hey, go here, go here, go here, get the definitive account so you can understand why Black Wall Street, it was such a loss at that time?
There are certain books. The name of the book escapes me. Well, to start with, I would first say that I would ask anybody that wants to learn more about the Greenwood experience, first come to Tulsa and come by the Greenwood Rising Museum. There is so much history right there that tells you about how the Greenwood District was built. It still moves me that, O.W. Gurley and his wife would think enough. They lived here in Oklahoma, and I think close to Guthrie, but they sold everything that they had and moved to Tulsa because they heard of the ability to purchase this large parcel of land, this 40 acres. And they did it with the intentionality to say that we're going to do that. They had been in business themselves previously, but then they moved to Tulsa with the intentionality of building this community. For Booker T. Washington, the educator, to be coined with the label of Black Wall Street, it still kind of hits you that you had a community that rivaled what was happening on, the Wall Street in New York. The fact that for a person of color during those times, you saw that much commerce, that much access, that many resources available in one area is still kind of mind blowing when you think about the society at that time. So I would say start there. Hannibal Johnson is a local author. He's got several books about the history of Greenwood. Hannibal is somebody that I know and has done a lot of research. He's a great authority in researching the history of Greenwood. But I say the Greenwood Rising Museum, Jeff, because there were a lot of obstacles even to this day to get all of the information about the Greenwood District. I mean, there's a lot that we know, there's a lot that's been passed down, but there's still a lot that we don't know about the district, just because there have been, forces and factions that don't want us to be able to recognize everything that Greenwood was. There is a monument there on Greenwood that talks about the large number of businesses that were there that were either destroyed or displaced during the massacre, and how those insurance policies for property insurance that nature were denied, and how that basically, drastically impacted, especially the transfer of wealth, after for generations. I mean, generations of families due to what happened in 1921.
Yes, and you think about anything that's being burned down to the ground, you're just going to lose a lot of recorded history just amongst that.
And the way it was portrayed, that it was an insurrection, was what nullified so many of those insurance policies. That it was a riot, that it was given a moniker of a riot, is what was largely the basis that a lot of those policies were denied.
I'm so happy you said that, because when I was looking into this and just learning so much more about it, I didn't even like using the word riot. That's why I was so careful to make sure I say the Tulsa Race Massacre, because I'm like, this is not a riot. Riot meaning like everybody got together and started to create whatever, but this wasn't a riot. It was a massacre, in my opinion, intentional,
And so, I mean, obviously, that is a very, very sad chapter. But one of the things that we like to discuss, Jeff, is that, from that, the resilience of the community, existed, from its start. I mean, I keep going back to what O.W. Gurley and J.B. Stratford did, but, what they started, what they built, it never, that spirit never went away. And that's the spirit that, as I talk to people that come here for the first time, they're like, there's something special about this. I never really knew. This is my first time being here. You've taken me around to a lot of sites and seen things that I'm kind of stunned that, in 1921 was available or happening, but then that spirit still lives on. And that's what we are here to promote with the Black Wall Street Rally.
Excellent. That's a great spirit that keeps living on. Let me ask you this: as you put this event together, what I imagine there has to be a lot of collaboration involved. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the people who support, and what goes all into putting a rally / festival into this?
Man, that's a great question, because I run into that just about every day, man. I mean, to do an event of this magnitude, it does take a lot of collaboration. We're still learning how to go about doing that. First of all, I always answer this question by saying that we do have the support of our Tulsa Chamber of Commerce. They do support us. The city of Tulsa does recognize, because it's a little difficult for those 3 or 4 days, and now really that week in May, that you don't see the large number of motorcycles that are all about town. I have friends of mine that work in downtown, and they're like, "Here y'all go with them bikes again." It gets pretty crazy. And so having the collaboration of the city, the mayor's office, that's the first type of partnership that you have to have. And a lot of that is because, we have a good level of communication with them about what we're trying to do, because this is a celebration more than anything, Jeff. This is a celebration of the spirit of the Greenwood District and the legacy of Black Wall Street. And so this is a celebration. This is the opportunity for individuals from all over the world. We have individuals that come from outside of the United States to attend our event. We have a map that we put up for you to, write down where you're from. And, last year we had individuals from 45 states and 3 countries. And that doesn't happen without a good word of mouth about our event. And so the next thing is we're still trying to build, those partnerships with with sponsors and things of that nature from a branding standpoint. You know, it's great that Harley Davidson is one of our largest sponsors. I mean, everybody knows Harley Davidson motorcycles. And I like to always tell folks that that's an important collaboration because from the African American community, we've always been Harley centric buyers. We're purchasing those bikes. We were racing those bikes. We've always been a part of that. And so for Harley Davidson to see the benefit of partnering with us and promoting their brand, you know, it's still about getting that word out to other brands that that know that, you know, our community, our customers, and have value. And here's an event that can be celebrated and put their brand, you know, front and center at the same time. So it's, you know, we're 5 years old. That's a good thing, but we're trying to still, you know, build those collaborations because we have some ideas to get the event to grow. And we'll talk more about that. But just like this year, we have something that's brand new to the Black Wall Street Rally, and that's the Health and Wellness Village. And I'm sure we can talk about that some more.
Oh, yeah, of course. Let me ask you this. So on the motorcycle aspect of it, what would you say makes this rally unique compared to other motorcycle rallies across the country? And can you give me some, I'm not a motorcycle rider, so I don't know all the groups, and I'm down here in Texas, so they have the big Texas bike rally and so forth. But it gives me such a sense of pride when I see Black bikers. And I know your event is inclusive for everyone, but I mean it from the standpoint of I see all of a sudden a group of Black riders, you know, with their vests and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about that as far as?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing that we have been very intentional about is that we're trying to create that annual family reunion gathering with a purpose. To be perfectly honest with you, it is an opportunity for bikers from across the country. I mean, to see East Bay Dragons from Oakland, California, and Buffalo Soldiers from Florida, all in the same location at the same time. Wearing their colors, you know, being hand in hand and basically experiencing something together, all in the spirit of celebration and being about the celebration and being somewhere where we can basically come together and enjoy the moment more than anything. Yes, it's an inclusive event. We have a lot of individuals that are from, you know, motorcycle clubs that aren't, you know, predominantly Black that are just like, you know, we just love the atmosphere because like golf, you know, as a golfer and a motorcyclist, you know, my passion is something that I experienced with a lot of people. And sometimes it's people that you don't know. So it gives those bikers the opportunity, first of all, to get on the road and get to Greenwood and then be at an event that allows them to celebrate their motorcycle culture, their historical culture, the legacy, and then get information and take things back home with them that can help everybody thrive. To be honest with you, Jeff, that's I think is what is unique because from a motorcycle culture standpoint is that, you know, you've got guys that are coming from all over the country that may see each other one time a year, all with the spirit of the legacy of Greenwood. That's the draw. That's the draw, and we're just trying to build that platform.
Right. Now, when I think about who experienced this, I've seen some video. When you have a younger generation coming through, how does this rally connect with the younger generation and who may be learning the history of Black Wall Street for the first time? How would you say it connects with the younger audience?
Multiple ways. We try to be cognizant that we've got to, you know, learn from the past in order to build the future. And so when we talk about things like entrepreneurship, we have to have these discussions in a manner that it allows, you know, those of us that have been around to make sure that we're passing along foundational principles to the youth. We also have events that feature the youth. We have a golf tournament now that aims to build the next generation of junior golfers, especially from underserved and underrepresented communities. And that's important because when it comes to golf, a lot of times, our kids just don't really have that community to play with. It's always that one-off thing where they're the only kid on the first tee at a tournament. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a community where it's kind of like, Jeff, when you were coming up, you had your buddies that you play basketball with. You got together at the court and you went at it, and that's how you built your game. Well, golf is the same way. And so we're doing that. And then we've got a health and wellness village, of which is brand new to the Black Wall Street Rally this year. But we're talking about health and mental health and wellness and heart health and those issues in our community that affects us: diabetes, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular health, physical fitness. These are conversations that we have to be having together, multi-generationally, in order to show our youth that there is a path that we can move forward towards together.
That's really fascinating and commendable. So I really appreciate that. I've never been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been through Oklahoma, but I've never been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. But just to hear that somebody, more and more groups are spearheading the lead on making those type of things happen is just, it's really commendable, and I think it's awesome. Now, before I go too far, I should have said this at the beginning, but can you tell our listeners where they can go and find more information about the festival? What's your website?
Absolutely. So we have a couple of websites. Our primary rally website is www.blackwallstreetrally.com. That's www.blackwallstreetrally.com. And that tells everything about the festival. You can register for the rally right there. Registration is still open. There's information about lodging. There are some hotels still available, places to stay. And then for our golf classic, which is May 14th and 15th, which is a 2-day event this year, that website is www.blackwallstreetgolf.org. www.blackwallstreetgolf.org. And so that event is our signature event during the Black Wall Street Rally, because, Jeff, the motorcycle culture and the golf culture are very similar. They're extremely similar. They travel. They love to, if you're part of a golf club, to show up and show out. You're passionate about going and experiencing new things and playing the game of which you have a passion and love for. And we want to pass that down, just like I was talking about the Harley Davidson motorcycle culture. We as African Americans or people of color, we've always been in the golf ecosystem. And so that's a story that doesn't always get talked about. The first PGA pro was a man of color, John Shippen. And so we've always been a part of the game, even though the game has evolved and you don't see the relevance from people of color, in a lot of ways outside of Tiger Woods. We want our youth to understand that it's a game for everyone, and there are opportunities. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so as you know, from any business, in order to be a part of that, you've got to basically be competent about it. And there are so many opportunities for our kids to get into the game. I mean, the First Tee is a wonderful program, fully supported. But in order to go forward and be more competitive, there are just things the resources that are needed. And we're trying to bridge that gap by providing, funds for membership to a public facility where they can, play and have range balls, sessions with a sports psychologist to build their mental side, and then also membership at an indoor facility when the weather is bad. It also has club fitting services, so they can work on their game year round. And we're just providing the resources. We're providing the answers to why don't we have X on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour. We're trying to build that with the Black Wall Street Rally Golf Classic. And so we're kind of merging the motorcycle community and the golf community. And therefore we have two websites. The registration to the golf event also includes full registrations to everything that you can experience at the Black Wall Street Rally. And if you're passionate about golf, you're going to get 2 days of great golf here in Tulsa, along with being able to experience everything about the rally. So it's a full weekend for it.
Byron, that's so. You were dropping knowledge on me because you hit me with that. I think he said his name is John Chip, and I was like, I've never heard of this guy. So and for a younger generation, a lot of people would think, man, it started with Tiger Woods, or maybe I think the guy's named Lee Elder, maybe before then. But I had never heard of this gentleman that you just dropped on me. So I'm gonna have to do research about this guy. I appreciate that because, maybe I'm the only one who didn't know. But you know what? In this day and age where there are factions who are trying to take out our history, remove things from the history books, this is much appreciation to your event and the nucleus of why it's happening, so appreciate that. Okay, so I had a couple of questions, but I'm gonna kind of go off into a different direction here because I'm going to get more into the festival part of it now. And they like to say every great festival has a certain spirit and vibe to it. So for someone who's never been to your festival, how would you describe the energy and the atmosphere of the Black Wall Street Rally? I keep saying festival, but excuse me, but rally.
Okay, so let me give it to you this way. If you're a part of the Divine Nine, there's an aspect for you. If you like line dancing and Chicago style dancing, there's an aspect for you. If you're into the country soul scene, there's something for you. There are multiple artists that are going to be performing on our stages between Friday and Saturday, multiple genres of music. So if you like music, there's going to be plenty for you. If you're into old school artists, we've got One Way that's performing on Saturday night at our concert. So there's something for you. Like I say, if you're a golfer, there's something for you. Jeff, it is a family reunion. It is an organizational conference. It is a picnic. It is a street fair, motorcycle event, historical tour, all wrapped up into multiple days in one site. How about that?
That's a great explanation. It sounds like a lot of fun, a lot of energy. So let's say someone hears this podcast or see clips on it on social media and they say, hey, okay, you know what? I like what Byron's saying. I think I want to check it out. What are some of the must-see highlights that you would say? Okay, let me go back to this. You talked about panels. Mm-hmm. So they come, they have a good time, but they're also, you've mentioned several times, you talk about the business and the community building, the economic impact.
Yeah.
What are some of the panels that you would say, hey, check out this panel, for entrepreneurs or so forth?
Yeah, so we're going to have a panel discussion that's going to be talking about economic prosperity and how to sustain it with individuals that are from banks, insurance companies, from lending programs, to give some information to the public about how to go about building a new business or strategies for sustaining a business over time. And that from an economic development and impact is extremely important because we have, these experts that are coming forth to give some history and some knowledge and things of that nature to the public. We also have a panel that's on health and wellness, and health is wealth. Let's also not forget that that the outcomes and disparities we have in communities of color can definitely affect families' ability to, pass wealth along to the next generation. Health and Wellness Village is brand new this year. This is the first time we've done it. We've got multiple clinicians that are coming that are going to be sitting down and, number one, providing assessments. Number two, providing conversations in regards to outcomes. Because there are some things, Jeff, when you talk to people in the healthcare industry, especially like, let's say, for mental health, there are a lot of clinical strategies that are not so much centric and based towards people of color. And so we get into these disparate outcomes because the treatment plans don't necessarily always, fit the communities that they're intending to serve. And when you have negative outcomes, it gets into our minds that we shouldn't get things checked, and we start to make these assumptions that, well, that's just Uncle Joe and he's crazy. Well, Uncle Joe needs help, and the help that he may be getting isn't proper. And so we need to have conversations about these type of things in order for us to better the outcomes. And like I said, this is the first year we're doing the Health and Wellness Village. Individuals that come and do it and register are able to get a souvenir patch. I know the bikers love to have patches that they can put on about how health is wealth, and a lot of individuals that ride motorcycles, Jeff, they do so because that's their kind of a mental healing, mental therapy. People call it, wind therapy, getting out, enjoying yourself, and being one with being outside. I mean, there are, things that we do that we don't fully understand why that we do them in situations. And here we are just spurring conversations in order to build a community.
Yes, I appreciate you saying that because many, especially some of my African American buddies, they do not want to go to the doctor. They don't want to get anything checked out. So you never know, because sometimes you're like, well, are you crazy of this? But you never know what their experience has been or their family members' experience that may have conditioned them to think, I don't trust them, because of the history. So I really appreciate you.
We just need to talk about that.
Right, right. So when you step back and we look at the bigger picture of the Black Wall Street rally, why would you say it's important to keep the story of the Black Wall Street alive through events such as yours? And I guess the second part of that would be someone else is in some other city. They see what you got going on. They're like, man, that's really awesome. So forth. How would you encourage them to well, obviously attend this event, but they may be thinking about, man, we need that in our city too. What kind of advice would you give people?
Well, the first thing is it's important because in a lot of ways, and I'm from Tulsa, the story of Greenwood just didn't get told, and it's for somebody that lives here, that's interesting. But then you have a significant moment in time that a lot of folks around the country don't know anything about. But then you have, like I say, other communities that have their own Black Wall Street. Well, how did that come about? You know what I'm saying? So, Jeff, the first thing is for a lot of folks, as I said before, to come and just experience being here and getting the opportunity to getting more information about what the district was about. And also, how it built itself from, a situation of not, because of segregation, a thriving community was built because of intentionality. They, during that time, those that had vision didn't allow the societal aspects of the day to keep them from, not only themselves thriving, but giving something for others so they could thrive. And so those are just important aspects that I think we need to take the time to learn about. And those principles can be taken back to no matter where it is and to build, to continue to build. And I think that's what's so special about us calling this event and calling everyone to come and experience it and year over year, because there's something to be learned. I mean, our event has continued to grow. And we're going to work hard to continue to provide a platform for growth and messaging and get people to come and be positive about their experience and look forward to attending again for something new.
So someone comes to the festival, they come, they experience it, they have a great time. They said, man, Byron, you and your group, you really put on a great event. But what would you say beyond the fun? What is the message that when they leave, you want them to take with them back to their communities if they're not from that Tulsa, Oklahoma? And I don't want to cut you off because I know you're about to speak, but I thought about something you said earlier, like how the dollar was recycled in the community. I'm not sure if that's the exact way you put it, but in the community 7 times. And I often think about like when we hear, well, you know what? Let me let you answer that question because that's a second part. It's kind of a little lengthy of it, but I'll let you go.
No, I mean,
the first part.
It was a community that was built on excellence, intentionality, and excellence, and that is the spirit that we're asking everybody to come and be a part of. That is so critical, and you know that spirit of excellence and community is something that I think it resonates with everyone. And you talk about the economic side of it. I mean, I'm wearing an East Side golf shirt today. I'm a golfer. You know, I'm obviously supporting their brand, and that's how.
Oh, excuse me. So that's an African American brand?
Yeah. So,
Okay. All right. Listeners, pay attention to that, and I'll put their website up.
Yeah, in the spirit of what Greenwood was about. I mean, it's you know, back then it was you were limited as where you could spend your money or where you could go to have commerce. Well, but today you can spend your money everywhere. But the fact that we recognize, like I was saying to you, Jeff, that the dollar turned seven times before it left the community. You know, the dollar I spent here went to a dollar that someone spent there and a dollar that someone spent there for supplies or something else and things of that nature. And that's how you build up a community. And so if we're intentional about what we do, we can all, you know, use the spirit of excellence that was Greenwood in our lives, no matter where we are.
You know, Byron, I really appreciate the fact several times you used the word intentionality. You talked about excellence because I think, you know, when I think about Greenwood, and I'm not throwing shade at any group or any people or anything, but I think, okay, if you went back in time in Greenwood, Black Wall Street, if they did, I don't even know if they did nails, but if somebody was doing your nails, what would they look like? If somebody owned the convenience store, what would they look like? So it goes back to not that any other group has ill will toward us, but they do or don't. I'm not here to judge that. But what I'm saying is within those communities, that's why I think and I've never been to Black Wall Street, so I'm going to be clear about that. But I am going to visit after doing this interview, especially there in Tulsa. But I just think, man, where would we be if we had the intentionality that you mentioned? It doesn't mean that you can't go to a different restaurant or a different cultural experience, but, you know, have we lost that intentionality with purpose because now we are so spread out? There is no community. There's people, but do we have a community? Because you mentioned about the hospitals during Black Wall Street. You mentioned about the lawyers, officers, the doctors, all these different things. How would you say, since we're all spread out now, how can we build intentionality? Because even with gentrification, it's forcing many of our people out of those communities now, and they have to be dispersed among, you get what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to make it political. You know what I'm saying.
A big thing is when folks, you know, when we come together for events like this. And that's why it's important for sponsors to recognize what we're trying to do because, you know, we're building a platform. You know, we were recognized by USA Today as one of the top 10 cultural events in the country, and we ended up finishing number 2. And the big thing about that is that, you know, you have so many folks, and this is a fan vote event. And so, people are voting because they've come and experienced it. They've had a good time. They've seen the benefits they've seen the benefit of what community excellence looked like by learning about the Greenwood District. And so now it's about saying, okay, these things are available. These things are out there. The education and the history is out there. There were things that were done back in 1921 that can still be done today. But it's about having the conversations and providing the guidance, and sure, everybody's going to have opinions about what they want to do and things of that nature. But at least if we operate from the ballpark of being intentional about building community, because any business has to build a community of customers. You know what I'm saying? It's the same blueprint. It's just, we're just saying that now that, we don't have the barriers of segregation, you can thrive anywhere. But there's still some benefit to, having a community behind you in order to build, legacy and history.
Excellent, Byron. Byron, I'm gonna close out. I got just two more questions for you. So someone's hearing this interview, they're on the fence about attending. What would you say to them that push them over the edge and say, come on down here?
If you're on the fence about attending, let me just tell you, it's a wonderful experience in order to be here at the home of Black Wall Street, to walk the streets of Greenwood and to see those businesses and to learn some of that history. We're doing some things, to promote that history that they're going to be advertising on our websites here pretty soon. But there's a feeling, there's a spirit. It's hard for me to put to words, Jeff. There's a spirit of just the special place that this is. And if you're on the fence, I can only say that there's something special in the soil that were brick and mortar over 100 years ago that in a lot of situations isn't here, but that legacy lives on. There's a spirit here.
Oh, yeah. I like that. There's something special in the soil. Now, let me ask you this. Looking out into the future, what is Byron's hope for the Black Wall Street rally 5 years from now, 10 years? And is it something that you could say you could bring into other cities possibly in the future?
There have been discussions about that. The draw, Jeff, is that Greenwood District, man. It's such to recreate, that special place that is the Greenwood District. And so, right now our focus is on building this to where we've got 100,000 people that are here, that we've got a national presence that folks are going, it's Black Wall Street Rally Week, it's Greenwood Week. You know what I'm saying? And so we're doing everything we can, Jeff, to keep growing that model, to have, more entertainers make this as a stop that they want to come and celebrate with us, and more brands to come and be a part of sponsoring what we're doing, because it's all about that excellence that I talked about, Jeff. It's all about, promoting, that intentionality that those founders had, and, building community from within. And it's something that's special that I think has a lot of growth available. I mean, if we have 30,000 people this year, it should be 50,000 people next year. This is a space where folks can come and feel honored to come and have a good time.
Well, Byron, at Fest Chronicles, I will do my best to promote it, and hope people will see this on social media clips and so forth. And we want as many people to come this year, plan for it next year. Well, if they can't make it this year, but they said, man, I want to support what Byron and his group is doing, how can they support it?
Go to our websites, Black Wall Street www.blackwallstreetrally.com or www.blackwallstreetgolf.org, or reach out to us, touch base with us. I think there are a lot of individuals out there that are like, hey, I think that's something that I would like to be a part of, to support. Just reach out to us. We're right there. Our email addresses are right there. Please email me. Let me know. You can hit me at the Black Wall Street Golf blackwallstreetrally@gmail.com or blackwallstreetrally.com. You hit us at those email addresses. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Hey, Byron, thanks for taking the time and joining us on the Fest Chronicles. Sounds like a great event. I love promoting great event. And thank you for taking the time. I know it's really busy. It's less than a month away, correct?
We're within 30 days, and I want to see you here on Greenwood.
I got you. Okay. I'm going to get this out. I'm going to promote this, man. This was a wonderful experience. I learned so much, and I didn't even learn about the Tulsa, the things that happened that inspired your event until after I got out of high school, So this is truly a blessing to talk to someone with connections to that. And again, I really appreciate you joining us.
Hey, man, thanks, Jeff. Anytime, man.
All right. Hey, you take care, and I appreciate that.
All right.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Fest Chronicles, where festivals come to life through the voices of the people who make the magic happen behind the scenes. If you enjoyed today's journey, click that like button, hit subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Spotify so you never miss the next fest-filled adventure. And hey, don't keep the fun all to yourself. Share this episode with a friend or family member you love going to festivals with. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating joy, and keep believing in the power of community, one celebration at a time.